1819 economic survey have discussed in detail regarding goods and services inflation. Okay, so some important points to note down regarding this is in relation to consumer price index. Okay, goods and service inflation is that, okay, in the consumer price index, okay, goods items is given a weightage of, so for goods the weightage in consumer price index is 76.6, and for services, okay, so it is saying that the goods inflation was 2.6% in the financial year 1819 compared to 3.2%. That is not that important for you, okay. But anyway, in 2018, goods inflation was lower than during 17-18 period. But the most important point to note down is that goods items in the consumer price index is having a weightage of 76 point. So goods items is having a weightage of 76.6% goods, and services is having a weightage of 23.4%. Service inflation, which is having a weightage of 23.4% under the consumer price index combined, was higher at 6.3% during the financial year 1819 compared to 5% in the financial year 1718. Okay, so service inflation was higher in 1819 compared to goods inflation. Okay, the weightage for goods items is 76.6% and for services it is 23.4%. So this is one important point again you need to note down regarding consumer price index and wholesale price index. In the case of consumer price index only having services, wholesale price index is not taking into consideration services. Wholesale price index consists of only goods, but consumer price index is having both goods and services items is having a weightage of 23.4%. So comparatively you can say that only 1/4 is having service weightage, but due to high inflation at the services inflation is contributing to high consumer price index inflation. Okay, so that you need to note down. So service inflation is higher than goods inflation, and the gap between service inflation and goods inflation is growing. And in recent times, service inflation has influenced the consumer price index headline inflation, even though compared to its weightage, service inflation is contributing more to the consumer price index headline inflation. Okay. Another important point to note down is that there are 40 items under the consumer price index, combined. Services components consist of 40 items and it is having a weightage of approximately 23.4, exactly it is 23.3% weightage. So services is having 40 items with a weightage of 23.37%. Okay. Now housing has the highest weightage among the services, which is having 40 items. Housing is having highest weightage. Please note out, this is very important. They can ask in increasing order or decreasing order. They will give you many services component. They will ask you in the consumer price index which is having highest weightage. Okay, housing is having highest weightage, followed by transport and communication, which is having a weightage of 4.59%. I'm talking regarding services inflation. Okay, then followed by education, 3.51%, and followed by health. So they will give you these 4 items and they will ask you to write means increasing order or decreasing order of service items which is contributing to inflation. So housing, followed by transport and communication, then education and health. So economic survey is saying that these items like health, education, transport and communication is driving service inflation, and in recent time it has gained prominence across both rural and urban area. So inflation in these services is driving the service inflation. Okay, and in regarding inflation in health, it is saying that inflation in health is more prominent in rural area compared to urban area due to the supply side constraint. You know that in rural area the health infrastructure is weak, so that is one of the reason why inflation in health is higher in rural area in the recent times. Now come to look into, if we look into, so this figure will give you a more detailed idea regarding the goods and service inflation in terms of weightage. Okay, So we can see that these are the different weight items being given. Okay. So in the case of housing, we know that housing is having a weightage of 10.0 percentage. Okay. Then transport and communication is having a weightage of, total weightage is regarding transport and communication is 8.5, but goods is having a weightage of, out of this 8.59, goods is having a weightage of 4 and services is having a weightage of 4.49. So one important point regarding transport and communication, education and health. These are the three important things you need to keep in mind. Okay, regarding transport and communication, education and health. These three items is having goods items as well as service item. But housing is completely a service item. But transport and communication, education and health is having both goods as well as service item. I will show you which all are goods as well as service item. Okay. Now see, just note down clothing. Okay. Clothing is having a weightage of, a total weightage of 5.58 percentage. And clothing is also having weightage, goods weightage is higher compared to service weightage. Okay. So just keep this in mind. Okay. So this is more important, transport, communication, education and health, because economic survey have discussed in detail, and keep this in mind, housing exclusively a service item which is having a weightage of 10.07 percentage. Now we will see in detail regarding these three. Okay. Now before going that, this figure is showing goods, and red color is goods inflation and blue color is service inflation. You can see that, okay, most of the time, except this period, most of the time services inflation is higher than goods inflation, and you can see that in the recent times the difference between goods and service inflation is growing. Okay, so that also, so service inflation is now contributing to in a higher way. Even the weightage is low, service inflation is contributing more to consumer price index headline inflation. So that also you keep in mind. Okay, so this is what it is showing. Okay, contribution of goods and services in headline consumer price index inflation. Okay, so the contribution of service inflation is now higher compared to the earlier period. Okay, so that also you just keep in mind. This figure is just to show you, in the recent times, service inflation is higher than goods inflation, and service inflation is means one of the reason why consumer price index is growing is because of service inflation, even though service inflation weightage is 23.4% only. Okay, now the 1819 economic survey have discussed in detail about an analysis of certain components of service inflation. Okay, an analysis of components of service inflation have been discussed in detail in the economic survey 1890. So I will show that. Okay, so regarding education, I told you education is having both goods items as well as service item. Economic survey is telling which all are goods item, which all are service item. Okay, so the total educational weightage is 4.46% in the combined consumer price index. And education, it is saying that consists of 5 items. Education is having 5 items with a weightage of 4.46%. It is saying that two category of items, that is books, journals and stationery, photocopying charges. So these two groups are considered as goods. In education, books, journals, stationery, photocopying charges are considered as goods, and it is given a weightage of, these two items is given a weightage of 0.95%. The remaining 3 items, that is tuition fees, tuition and other fees for school and college, private tutor, coaching center and other educational expenses. These are the 3 items which is coming under the services component, and these 3 items is having a higher weightage under education. These 3 items is having a weightage of 3.51%. And it is saying that the analysis of the monthly combined consumer price index since January 2015 says that good components are witnessing lower, are witnessing lower inflation than the services. We are talking about education. So the 2 goods components is growing, or the inflation is lower in these 2 goods items compared to the 3 items which is contributing to service inflation. Okay. So it is saying that the inflation of private tutor or coaching center and tuition and other fees has risen during the financial year 18-19. Okay. So what you need to know is that first you should know that education is having a weightage of 4.46%. It is having goods component as well as service component. Service component weightage is higher and service components is contributing more to inflation compared to the goods component of education. So this is analyzed in the economic survey. Then coming to the health, health is having a combined weightage of 5.89% and health is having 7 items. Health is having 7 items. Okay. Of the 7 items, 3 items like medicine, family planning devices, spectacles. So in the health, 7 items, 3 items are considered as goods with a weight of 4.07%. Okay. So medicine, family planning devices, spectacles are goods with a weightage of 4.07% in health, and the remaining 4 items like hospital and nursing home charges, other medical expenses, doctor or surgeon's fee, X-ray, ECG, pathological test, etc. with a weightage of 1.28% these 4 items belongs to services. Again in health also, service component of health is witnessing higher inflation than the goods component. Okay. So both education and health is having goods component as well as service component. Now coming to transport and communication. Transport and communication is having a weightage of total weightage of 8.59%. It consists of around 21 items. Out of this 21 items, 8 items like motor car or jeep, motorcycle, scooter or bicycle, tires and tubes, petrol for vehicle, diesel for vehicle, lubricants and other fuels for vehicle, mobile handsets are goods with weight of. So these are the goods under transport and communication with this, which is having a weightage of 4%. So remaining are items in the transport and communication is considered as services, and that consists of 13 items, and they are other conveyance expenses, railway fare, bus or tram fare, taxi or auto rickshaw fare, rickshaw, that is hand drawn or cycle fare, cycle rickshaw fare, horse cart fare, school bus van, etc. fare, air fare, both economy and normal class, steamer or boat fare, porter charges, telephone charges, including landline, telephone charges, mobile, internet expenses comes under the services, and they are having a weightage of 4.5%. Okay. So transport and communication is also having both goods component and service component. Okay. So within transport and communication, on an average, service components are witnessing higher inflation than goods. But volatility is higher. This price volatility is higher for goods compared to services. Okay. So since Economic Survey 18-19 have discussed in detail about the goods and service inflation, especially 3 important services: transport and communication, education and health. You are supposed to know about its weightage and its trend, and also you keep in mind regarding this housing component also. Okay, so there is high chance that UPSC may ask a question from goods and services inflation because it is covered in detail in the economic survey.